Hello everybody, Aaron here at AC Detailing here in Findlay, Ohio. Today I'm going to chime in on the live that was today about the Feynmach tool and some other things. So, I have a table of tools here. Some tools you'll recognize, some you won't, some might, and the plethora of tools I have. So, I asked Adam his opinion about the new Feynmach tool. And I usually take people's words with a grain of salt. Adam has a very good grasp on what's going on at Feynlab. And I have the original Feynmach 21 that I actually got shipped to me by accident. Ended up paying for it so that way I could have it. But I ended up getting this before the release. Only a few people I think had these in hand, or a few shops that were testing them out. But I ended up getting that by accident. It wasn't even on the website. It was nothing yet. It just showed up one day, and I called them. They were like, you weren't supposed to get that, but I think they did it on purpose. So, because I ended up buying it anyways. So, I started the dual action scene with the Porter cable. And then it went to the McGuire's one, and then I was like, you know what, I want a professional tool. So, my first Rupes tool, and I've upgraded it, this is an ES that has a Mark II head on it. And it has Mark II dial and some other things that I modified in this tool. So, I've had this tool since day one. I've had to put like 8 different cords on it. But I've had this tool for 10 years now. Yeah, 10 years. And it was a fantastic tool. In all of the Rupes tools that have came out in the past have been a very good tool. They're a lightweight tool. They have very little vibration, but they've always lacked on power. At the beginning of the paint correction industry, you weren't really worried about power and cutting time. It was just like getting it done to a good level. And that's why the Porter cables and McGuire's did what they did at the time. So this was my king of the crop tool, but with the 21-inch throw and a 6-inch backing plate, it just didn't hit the spot. So my next tool, which is, I have 3 of the same ones. You can tell this one's the oldest because it's shiniest. Griots came out with their Boss system. And the Boss system, when it originally came out, was the absolute best non-compromise tool on the market. They had amazing durability. They had rubber grips. They have this thing right here, which is awesome. This is probably my favorite part of this whole tool, is how this is flexing the way it is. This tool is a workhorse. That's why I have 3 of them. I actually found a company that had them left over when I knew they were switching to the new ones, because I accidentally turned one in and got the new Boss tools, which all the new Boss tools have this look to them now. But I ended up switching, and I hated it. So I went back to these Griots tools, and these were my go-to 15mm throw tools. And at the time, this was my go-to 21. It was the best 21 on the market for a while. The only one that came out that was close to it in power, but I liked it, that it had maybe a little bit more power, was the Griots tool that they had in a 21. The only problem is I couldn't find a pad that it just would not destroy, because it had a little bit of vibration and the backing plate would get really hot. I think it was the design of the backing plate the whole time. So, that being said, when I found out that they came out with the Feynmach, I jumped ship. And when I started using the tool that they accidentally sent me, I fell in absolute love. And I used this tool quite a bit. This is our number 1 tool for 21 in the shop. Completely blows this out of the water. If you have big projects, this is very smooth on the hands. Don't get me wrong. It's very light. It's very super simple. But if I drop it, something's going to break if I drop it from far enough. You drop this, it's probably not going to break. This is built, in essence, in my opinion, like the good old-fashioned D-Wall. It's heavy duty. It's built for us to use and abuse every single day. There were a few flaws with it. The cord thing would break off the end. The trigger was okay. And the dial was very kind of floppy after it broke in. So other than that, everything on this tool, rubber grip wise, has stood up from being drop off of a scaffolding 8 feet high, and it does not skip a beat. I have not had an issue with it. The only thing I wish that it had was a variable trigger instead of an on-off trigger. How I personally think they got around it is they made the dial non-tactile. It just slides side to side, which is what I was hoping they were going to bring to the table with the next iteration. That's just me. I'm used to the DeWalt tactile 250, 500, 250, 500 increments. All these have a tactile feedback. These dial from the side. This is the new dial. These are really good tools for what they are. The 15, the G9, the G15, the G21, I don't like the new ones. You can't get the vibration out of them. They have a shit ton of power. I don't like the vibration. These have it. These have the tactile feedback. This doesn't because it's air powered. This doesn't have it at all because for some odd reason they shit the bed when they designed this tool. It vibrates like crazy back here. It doesn't matter if you have a skinny pad, tall pad, whatever. There's like a weird vibration. It feels like the battery is going to fall out. This has absolutely no tactile feedback. However, my Adams micro polisher does. But it's just an on and off trigger. On and off only trigger. On and off only trigger. Variable, 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 variable. So, and even this is a variable. These are battery powered, and they are variable. So even the Milwaukee drill is variable. So after doing a ton of research and a ton of time finding out what tool I wanted, because I was thinking about another tool to bring into the shop. Then I found out that Feynlab came out with the new Feynmach. So here's the new Feynmach in all its glory. And they upgraded it in tremendous ways. The Feynmach up here is nice, and the stickers on the side here aren't just stickers, they're actually nice and embossed now. In my opinion, the tan always looks clean, and it's pretty dirty. I've been using the shit out of it. The cord is nice. I can tell the trigger is slightly nicer in its feel, and I can also tell that the dial is slightly nicer in its feel. Once again, however, not a variable trigger, not a tactile dial. That's my preference. That's what I like. But I think that since they only have an on-off trigger with a soft start, so how I think they got around it is they put the non-tactile dial in to fix that issue or to compensate. Plus, if they put a variable trigger and a tactile dial in, they'd have to raise the price of this, and that would get very expensive. And I can understand them raising the tool probably even another 50 to 100 bucks if they did that. However, if they did an HD version of this tool that had that, I would gladly pay for it all day long. So that's just me. So looking at the tools side by side, identical. Very generic, stickers falling off, and I hated that it was actually upside down. That bugged me. That's amazing. I love that. I like that it's tan. It's different. It doesn't stand out with every tool on the market. Milwaukee, this, Adams, obviously, they're all freaking red. All these other companies are red too. Even MacShine. I have a MacShine in the drawer, which I didn't bring out. That's just a rotary MacShine. I have a dual action MacShine, but that's a piece of crap. So, my point is, I've tried every tool on the market. SGCB, SPTA, all those other brands. I tried them all. ShineMate, you name it. Even Makita, even Flex. I have a 3401, and I've tried some of their battery powered tools. This is replacing these three tools in my arsenal. These three tools are going in my storage cabinet because I can no longer get replacements for these. They have a lifetime warranty. My problem is if I break anything inside, like the trigger goes out, the dial goes out, these have to get sent out, and then I'll get the new versions like these from that. I don't want that to happen. My next go-to is this. This is the tool that is going to replace all the others. I'm even going to hopefully buy this in a 21. Unless anything happens to this, then obviously we can go from there. but you can obviously see an upgrade in how that was. This is nice and comfortable. This is better because of the positioning of your fingers. Totally love it. I love that it's got the rubber stops. These obviously you can see don't have that, and they got scratched up a lot. Those have it. The Rupes didn't even have it. It was a shitty design. But on the scale of things, if I were to tear them apart without looking at the PCB board, looking at the dials and everything and the internals, I couldn't tell you what the difference is. I know that the motors in these are good. The dial control's kind of shit. The trigger itself is made out of hopes and dreams. How they wired it in here is kind of eh. I'm pretty sure that the cord in this plugs directly into the controller, right into the trigger, right into the controller. The only thing that I wish that they had, and I'm looking at this, so got a 10 amp motor, 1100 watts, 4500 OPM. That's oscillations per minute. This one only does 4200, 60 hertz, most likely 8 amps. I'm not seeing the amperage on here. Maybe I'm blind. I'm not seeing the amperage. 120 volt. Okay, 8. Yeah. Yeah. So my thing is, you go to this. Look at the power. 5,000. So I have been used to the past, how I've had these tools for 7 years now. So in the 7 years that I've used these tools, I'm used to the 5,000, not because I need that, but because of where my dial is. It's the memory of the dial, and then when you have a very big concave area, you need to dial it up so that way you can keep the pad rotation. You don't have to, but it's a good way to do it to help in a really deep, concave area. Most of the time I'll hit that with a 3-inch and then I'll come over after and then I'll blend in that area. But if you have a really ravine concave area, we'll say like this Mustang here, you could get into, obviously this is a dramatic example, but I'm just showing you the extra RPM helps. This doesn't have the RPM, but what it compensates in is the torque. This is only like a 400 or 500 watt tool. This, I think, is a 900 watt tool, if I remember correctly. It's got plenty of power. The amperage isn't there. This has a lot of amps compared to that, 7.8. This is a 10 amp motor. It's got a lot more power. These have more power than this. They compensate with the RPM, where this compensates for the amperage and the power draw at 1100 watts. So it's going to have more torque. And one thing I've noticed with more torque means that you don't have to have the RPM. And that was something that was I had to just learn to dial it where I needed to dial it. 4.5 is good. I had to dial it up to 5 to get the RPM, but I'm usually at 4.5. That's usually where I sit. Cutting, polishing is 4, depending on the paint, 5. But 4.5 seems to be the sweet spot on cutting and polishing with this tool. In my opinion, the 29-foot cord, very high quality, even the same as this, awesome. This is a cord that I replaced, very shitty. These were awesome cords that came on these tools. I just had it wrapped up like that. I don't pull them that tight usually. I wrapped it up to keep it clean for you. Wrap those up as well. But these unplug, and that becomes problematic as well. I do like it, but it's problematic. In my opinion, these are probably the best cords on the market at, 29 feet, 27 feet, whatever. I think it's 29 feet. An amazing cord, an amazing tool. Personally, and know that this will replace all your tools in your shop. It's got power. It's super smooth. It works really well with Buff and Shine and Lake Country pads. It works well with Jescar pads, Minzerna pads, 3D pads, McGuire's pads. I've used it with all those. Some of the Chinese pads, I pulled them out, SGCB, some of those to try them out, see how they work. They're shit. What do you expect? The taller the pad you go with, the more vibration you're going to get. The thinner the pad you're going to get less vibration, but you're going to build up more heat, which means that the tool's torque is going to transfer to the paint more, which means you won't have to use it as long, but that's about as tall of a pad you want to use. At the most, you don't want to go any taller than that. If you can get a low pro pad, that will help a little bit with the vibration. Now, this is just me. I've done it before. depending on the size of the pad. You take the bolt out, you get a longer bolt, same thread pitch, and you can get weighted things to help compensate for the offset to help with vibration. One thing that Griots did with the new tools, the G9 and them, is they did that. It worked okay. You can, if you really want to tweak in that vibration for you specifically. But personally, I think that that tool as it is will replace most of your tools. I haven't had a chance to try the 21, but the new Feynmach 15mm throw tool is our new workhorse. Half of those tools are going in storage, and I'm only going to use the Feynmach moving forward. After a month of playing around with the tool, I came to the conclusion that it's got the power, it's got the smoothness, and I would leave the same pads. I put this pad on those other tools, and I kept grabbing the Feynmach. I wasn't trying to do it because I was like, oh, it's a new tool, I need to fall in love with it. If it says anything, if I should have fallen in love with any tool, I should have fallen in love with the Milwaukee cordless tool. I didn't. It's a good waxing tool, it's a good polishing tool, it's not a good cutting tool. But I will tell you right now, I will grab this 95% of the time over any of my other polishers. Just because it's affordable, it's a badass tool. I already have the original one, I know the durability of it, so all you can ask for is, at the end of the day, is a tool that's not going to break down on you in the middle of your workday, and a tool that's got the power and smoothness to make it not hard on your body and get the job done right the first time. So, Aaron here with AC Detailing. I hope this has been a video for you guys. I'm not bought and paid for. This is my opinion. As you can tell, I'm a tool collector, and I've had a dozen more off-brand tools and name-brand tools. I'm not afraid to spend money on tools, but at the end of the day, this is going to be my new tool moving forward, and I think it's a nice, clean, new look. I think that then going with a better motor and bearings, doing that. But one thing you have to realize is it is a very smooth tool, but the more RPM means more vibration. With that tool, it's pretty damn smooth throughout the whole RPM range, but it's all about pad choice and RPM choice. And I think with any tool that you have, you can get good smoothness, but this is our new baby, and I'm going to use the shit out of it. So, excuse my language, have a good day, and keep it clean.